I think people are very hungry to know what is it like when you grow old. Nobody tells you how to grow old, and everybody tells you every other part of your life. We make the mistake of thinking that this part of our lives is not useful and view it as the end rather than the most precious time of your life that you need to use carefully and artfully and spiritually and gracefully. Having breast cancer delineated a lot for me. I was lucky all my life, never spent even a night in a hospital. At 72, Christmas Eve, was diagnosed, changed my life, enriched my life, gave me much more emotional and spiritual dimension. I could never be retired. I need to be productive. I need to be meaningful, purposeful. I'm developing a whole new side of myself, which is very exciting. I see my life as a Broadway play, and this is the third act, and it's a grand finale. I don't want to go out with a whimper. I want to go out with a standing ovation. You would like to age beautiful, you would like to age healthy, and you would like to age active. And here's the secret: you got to work at it. You're in charge of you.
Welcome. We're Amanda and Gabriella, mother and daughter, and founders of Movement Living. We're on a mission to help women live well and age better.
This is the Movement Living podcast. We interview fascinating people who will inspire you to be confident in your skin as you age and share practical tools to make it happen.
Join the thousands of women who receive our free wellness newsletter at movementliving.com. We curate the best of wellness, bringing you fresh ideas and practical tips every Monday morning. Today, we're speaking with Diane Gilman, the trailblazing jean queen and renowned fashion designer whose mission is to help all of us embrace aging as our boldest chapter yet.
Diane is a force, and I was so inspired by how she has turned obstacles into opportunities, like rebranding her own personal style as a breast cancer survivor.
Diane has such an empowering perspective and ideas that you'll want to apply right away. Diane, welcome to Movement Living. It is wonderful to be having a conversation with you today. We're so thankful for your time.
This is a very reminiscent for me of a podcast I do with my social media brand manager, who I've worked with for 15 years. Started when she was 25, and now she's 40, and I'm 80. And we talk all the time about events and facts of life that we're going through and how it differs with age. So this is fascinating that it's you and Gabriella, and there's like almost a 40-year age difference. So I think people are very hungry to know, what is it like when you grow old, and is there still some essence of you in all of it from your youth?
Totally understand that at 72. In reinventing, not even reinventing, it's like finding yourself or figuring out who the hell are you. And this is what we want to talk a little bit about. I mean, there's so many areas for you, but we admire how you are just going for it, in terms of your identity and trailblazing identity. Because I think as a generation, I mean, we've always been, who are we? I think every generation goes through what's your identity? But when you get older, it's becomes again an important part of your life to get comfortable with who you are, and you have to reinvent it a little bit, but you take it from different parts of your life. So maybe you could speak a little bit just to that.
I thought the one thing that was great about being a baby boomer was we drove the economy. Therefore, we had a lot of power because money speaks, right? Money makes deaf men hear and blind men see. So I always was very proud that I was a baby boomer. And then somewhere towards beginning of middle age, we all sort of dispersed. And when you become a lone voice, you don't have that kind of fulsome power behind you. But nobody tells you how to grow old, and everybody tells you every other part of your life. Oh, you should. Oh, you could. Oh, here's how you do that. Here's how you raise children. Here's how you go through a divorce. Here's how you get married. Da 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 da. And then when you get old, it's deafening silence. No one tells you do it this way, or fill out your life that way, or go for a second career. So, honestly, having breast cancer delineated a lot for me. I was lucky all my life, never spent even a night in a hospital. At 72, Christmas Eve, was diagnosed. Changed my life, enriched my life, gave me much more emotional and spiritual dimension. And I realized that time as you get older is your absolute most precious commodity. You can make more money, you can get a second career, but you can never get a second chance at the moment you just blew, right? So I thought to myself, what do I want to do? Do I want to go on doing this for the rest of my life, being on tele-retail, selling my product, my fashion product? And just like the seasons change, businesses change, public perception. Everybody had moved on. It wasn't cable TV anymore. We're talking about social media and ordering online. So the real feel for me after breast cancer, which really put me in focus, was I want to do something else. I want to learn something new. I want to be the best I can be with what I've got. Have I learned any new talents beyond fashion? And the thought was, yeah, you can talk on TV. And I was so interested in a myriad of facts and new medicines being generated and the idea of longevity. And so I thought, okay, I could kind of try to do that, but I didn't know how. And it just came to the point where I thought, I've got to get out. I've got to spring off the diving board, or I'll never know what the water is, right? So I did. And within 4.5 weeks, somebody got in touch with me and said, want to be a co-host on a podcast about aging? And I did that for 6 months. And then people came to me and said, you know what? You should try doing it yourself. So for me, I have been somebody who was very grateful to have a major talent, fashion, and be able to use it all my life, have the right personality, aggressive, entrepreneurial. Yeah. And then I found I really liked talking again, but freer than I was, where I was just selling a product. And so it was a good move to make. I could never be retired. I need to be productive. I need to be meaningful, purposeful. And I'm developing a whole new side of myself, which is very exciting. We make the mistake of thinking that this part of our lives is not useful, too short to be meaningful, um, and view it as the end rather than the most precious time of your life that you need to use carefully and artfully and spiritually and gracefully. So um, I'm I'm a very deliberate, pragmatic person, and I knew I would die young if I retired. I can't do nothing. And because I traveled my whole professional life constantly, travel didn't seem all that great to me. It seemed like more of a gift not to have to be at an airport. So here I am. and hopefully redefining along with others the idea of aging, establishing a defense against ageism, and working on making everybody knowledgeable about all the channels you can take to longevity.
Wow. I know you're competitive. I picked up on that.
Whoa, totally. I'm competitive with myself.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
God.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny because I used
I
to,
feel like you guys would be best friends. There's so many similarities.
one of the things that I always say, Diane, is like, I want to win at yoga, which is really sad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. I know exactly what you mean. You want to be the best in every position and have everybody saying to you, oh my God, how do you do that at your age? And yeah, I know.
That's how you get injured. Somebody said, "Oh, well, if you want to be like that, then take up Tai Chi because the goal is to go as slowly as possible, right?" But I can relate, and it's lovely to hear you say, all these things because having a major illness, and I've been through breast cancer too. We all have big health issues or small health issues. They add up, but they help focus your sights on where you're going. And I always like to say the runway is getting short, but how do I take advantage of the time that's left? It's a big issue for us. And I think having you and many other women and some of the women that we've spoken with already help us with guiding us. It's so wonderful because there hasn't been anything like that. Our generation, you say boomers, we're the first ones that have gotten here relatively healthy with a lot of knowledge, right? There's a lot of science out there.
And a lot of intent um to live forever, right? So somebody just told me on one of my podcasts that if you can just, I'm 80, if you can just hang out to 90, within 10 years, 90 will actually, with treatment, be the new 40. So, okay. So don't put any pressure on me here or anything. Right? No pressure. But that's my new goal. But there are plenty of things you can do and become the artist you always wanted to be, become the woman you always wanted to be, become the author you are with self-publishing. And there are so many roads you can take and so many talents that you've had that you have not monetized or you have not expanded upon because you didn't have the time, because you devoted it to raising children or taking care of a husband or having your own career. But now what's your second act? What's your third act? And that's how I see my life as a Broadway play. And this is the third act, and it's a grand finale. You've got the big song. You've got all the ends, the romantic ends, the mysterious ends, everything tying together. So I see it as a stage, and I see it big. I don't want to go out with a whimper. I want to go out with a standing ovation.
You and Ethel Merman
Yeah, right. I remember Ethel Merman. Exactly.
belting it out. But
Yeah.
yeah, finding that first, you got to get focused. You got to find who you really are, you know.
I think that's the key because even what you said, the woman that you always wanted to be or the artist you always wanted to be, I think a lot of women just haven't thought about that. How do you know what that even is?
Oh, I thought about it from the time I was a young child. I was born to older parents in 1945. My mother was 45. That was unheard of. My father was well over 50. And I watched them retire early and have nothing to do. And I thought, I don't want to be this. And so I think from a very young age, I started thinking about, oh my God, is that what growing older is? You're useless, you're purposeless, you cut coupons out of Shop and Shop, right? I had it on my mind forever. So I had my third act on my mind when I was barely into my first act. And Yeah, maybe because everything I've done has been late bloomer. I didn't get on TV till I was 43. I didn't invent the baby boomer gene for HSN and QVC until I was 60, and didn't write my first book till I was 65. Just finished my third book. Um, and so I forced myself to constantly develop new talents and do things that were productive and made a difference, but found me pleasure. And I realized very young that I was incredibly comfortable virtual. I'm not the greatest person one on one, but I'm perfect if you put a camera in front of me and give me a platform. And so I would say that a lot of what I've nurtured in myself in the last few years since I got my diagnosis, it's all been self-discovery. And I think that's kind of what you have to do. I had never had a day off work until I went for my first chemo treatment. I thought, wow, is this what other women do? Like you get to stay home and watch Lifetime movies all day long? I liked it. I mean, that was just part of it. But I have a way of taking events and making them into positive learning experiences. And I realized getting diagnosed at 72, 73, that I'd be a quick study. Who was I going to be while I was getting treatment? A bitter, upset, terrified, bitchy old woman, or somebody who lit up the room for all the chemo nurses. The first time I had a treatment, I thought, oh my God, they're so pressurized. Those poor ladies. And so decided to be their breath of fresh air every time I came in, their ray of light, the best part of their day. I made a lot of changes. And the thing I found out about me during treatment is sort of manifest destiny. You can be a better person, a different person, drop some bad habits, pick up some really good habits and vibes. So I took the opportunity to learn my own power.
Yeah, that decision to not be grumpy and pissed off because everything's changed and you hate it and you hate everything like fashion and stuff. How do you rechannel that and make it into a positive? And I love what you're saying is to make other people's lives better with your energy and attitude.
Yeah, I realized I had a strength that I had never seen before. They say most people who get a bad diagnosis and don't have a tremendous amount of family support don't survive, but I had no family. So I had to make my community that I had developed on television and around me for my career, my outer rings of family. But I had a very, I don't want to say rude awakening, but I definitely had a cathartic moment. So I'm in Manhattan and I'm going to a very, very beautiful breast cancer clinic. The Dubin Breast Cancer Clinic, dropped into Mount Sinai on Fifth Avenue. Coincidentally, I had bought an apartment on Fifth Avenue, 5 blocks away, about 8 months before I got diagnosed. Weird, huh?
Yeah.
But I could just walk to the clinic. And so I'm sitting there. It's the height of my career. I have to take at least 9 months off. But people recognize me on the street. People ask me for autographs all the time, selfies. So I'm sitting there and I assume that I should be getting special treatment because I'm a minor celebrity. One day, I'm in my room getting chemo. Everyone had their own private rooms. Somebody comes in next door, and all the nurses go berserk. Oh my God, Sheila's here, Sheila. Hey everybody, Sheila's here. All the chemo nurses come running. And I'm thinking, oh really? Nobody makes that kind of fuss over me. She must be a news anchor, major network, or she must be a Broadway star, or she must be a soap opera diva. I mean, she's got to be something pretty high up to get that kind of attention. So finally, the nurse walks in to check on me, and I'm like, is she? And I name off all these possibilities. And I said, and why did you offer her 4 lunches? Because we got served organic food for lunch. I mean, this place is amazing. Um, I said, so who is she? Soap opera, cable news anchor, Broadway star. Who is Sheila? And the nurse looks at me like I'm insane, but there's my competitive nature, right? How come someone gets offered lunch and I don't? Well, it's because I never ate their lunch. And how come that she's getting all this attention and I don't? And she said, Diane, she's living, she's a battered wife living in a homeless shelter with stage 3 breast cancer with her child. It's too dangerous for her to go home. And the food is so horrible in the shelter that this will be 4 days worth, 4 lunches or 4 days worth of food for her. Well, that was the most amazing education I ever had. And it told me that there are conditions like cancer. Cancer doesn't care if you live in a penthouse on Fifth Avenue. Cancer doesn't care if you fly first class. It doesn't care if you're on TV. It doesn't care if you shop Bergdorf Goodman's. It is an equal opportunity equalizer. And I was equalized. And I realized out of that encounter, and I never wound up meeting Sheila, but totally changed my perspective to life. I came down to earth. I realized all of this construct you've made for yourself with being celebrity and getting treated first class and blah, blah, blah doesn't mean anything. And now that you've got that knowledge, what are you going to do with it? And I thought, I want to write my 3rd book. I want to make women feel better about themselves, and I want to make them feel more empowered about not only getting a disease like this, but aging. Because it seems to me that there are 2 major tsunami conditions as we get older. And one of them is cancer. Everyone says, oh, yeah, older women get cancer so much more easily. Not sure I believe that anymore. There's such a grotesque amount of younger people getting cancer, but the other is aging. Women feel powerless aging, and you are never powerless, ever. Don't allow that to happen. Gather yourself together and find out where your power is and go for it. So for me, it was not only that, I mean, is it a surprise? All my power is in my hair. And I had no hair, no eyebrows. So, you know the whole drill. And so I took that opportunity as I started to normalize myself again, to build a new me, to build a new image. And what was I going to be as a grown up lady? And so I made it into a challenge and a purpose, and I made it fun.
That's the really secret sauce that you have, Diane, which is you want to make it into something that you can define. You know, you want to build an identity. And a lot of us are struggling with, oh gosh, who was I and who do I want to be and how am I going to get there? And I think maybe the first step, and I'd love more of your insight into this, is the first step is choose to have a goal to start with, choose to want to have a new goal in life and not go, oh God, this is the sunset, this is the end. You have to start again and go, hey, what do I want to achieve now?
It's very interesting because actually, I bought the apartment I have because it's all light, it's all windows, it faces Central Park, and it gets incredible sunsets. And the other night, I'm watching the sunset and I'm thinking, oh, it's so bland, and there's just a few clouds in the sky. And within the next 45 minutes, it turned into this bright orange, bright fuchsia, unbelievable landscape of clouds, and it was so beautiful and so dramatic. So never count yourself out, because your sunset can actually be the most brilliant, the most powerful and beautiful time of your life. And if you believe that, then you can make it happen.
So good. It's it's so good.
I find it difficult. This is to just segue over to style and fashion, which is a really huge part of who we are, and how we're going to, attempt these changes. I find
That's tough.
it's tough, and I find it so difficult to find anything I like anymore.
Yeah,
So,
I
but
have
I
that
like,
conversation all the time, and also have it with myself. Well, there's no clothing built for us. No one cares about us. We're the largest generation on earth. And as I said at the beginning of this podcast, we propelled this society into the most successful money engine on earth. And then when you hit about 55 and your body's really gone through changes, everybody drops you. The concept for me was so simple. Um, I was always in the outer rings of the music industry and the entertainment industry. And I was always like embellishing jeans for some star. And then suddenly I couldn't wear jeans anymore. And I thought, what? I devoted an entire year every Saturday I would spend going to another category killer denim expert store, gigantic or small, looking for a jean that fit. Finally, I just took my measurements, custom made one for myself and 23 million other women, which is where we're at. And it was a revelation. All I had to do was say, I designed a jean for you and me. Very different measurements from industry standards, which are for a 25-year-old body. And it became their own. And it was me too, wore it every day of my life for years and years. Um, it is amazing to me, and it's part of the propelling nature of my whole spiel on ageism and fighting it, because how can we be left alone like this, where it's like you've got money to spend and nowhere to spend it?
amen.
Unbelievable. And I still feel that way. I wore my brand, and then at some point, right after breast cancer, I decided to sell my company and explore a new way of life. And I found once again that even my own brand, when they had bought me out, was not really very interested in addressing women of a certain age. They wanted to get younger.
Yeah.
So, amazing how youth obsessed fashion is, and at the same time, really running out of new ideas and not much that's really stimulating. And I get the same remarks all the time, and you might or you might not, but the remarks I get are, Diane, I really give you a lot of credit that you go out of the house 3 or 4 times a week and have a meal out, get your hair done, go shopping. Why would you admire me for that? That's just everyday life. Well, you are 80 years old. And so the whole viewpoint of society is you get to a certain numerical age and you stop doing anything.
You need to stay strong, and you need to stay mentally and physically strong, which is a lot of what we're, supporting. And I'm just curious, so how do you, what's your movement practice? We have three pillars, movement, connection, and food, and connection being your family, your extended family, but movement is so important. So what is it that you do specifically?
That's a problem for me because I found that I had a terrible sensitivity to gluten, but I had to find it out myself. Western medicine never told me. And I'm not going to tell you that I was not physically damaged from strong chemotherapy. So I got a personal trainer, really a physical therapist, and twice a week I do sessions with him. And then I try and do homework in between. Um, Painful. Never thought in a million years that would happen to me. I just thought I'd sail in to old age and be totally together, but not totally. And then I became very educated and still need a lot more education on what you put into your body. I had to have a talk with myself on my 80th birthday and just say, you just can't fool around anymore and eat junk. And I was not a big processed food eater to begin with, but I went through my house and threw everything out, everything that was negative. Um, and so I am now really working on that trifecta of spirituality, food, respect for my body, what you put into it, um, and fashion and beauty, and trying to craft a new image of what an older woman should look like and how she should carry herself. I'm a very pragmatic person, so I'm gonna put it into grouplets. I'm gonna figure out everything that's in each of those groups. I'm gonna go after it. And amazing to me, I found taking certain foods out of my diet, dairy, gluten, um, really made a difference. Seriously made a difference. So I am my own best working project, and we all should be. And you may find as you get older that by working on your sense of well being and health, you find out who you are today, what your strengths are. It was very interesting over the weekend. Somebody sent me a still shot of myself on camera in the TV studio selling on air and said, wow, you were so beautiful. And immediately, because I'm so competitive, even with me, I look at that photo, I look at a current photo, and I thought, what do you mean I was so beautiful? I actually like what I've done with myself now better than 10 years ago, 12 years ago. So I think I've done a pretty good job. And part of my appeal, maybe in a podcast, is giving out that kind of information. You cannot give up on yourself. The scariest moments for me were when I had no hair at all. Here I am, and I've got this giant head of hair, and I like to hide behind it, and I like to sculpt everything around it. And when you don't have that prop, oh my God, that was really tough.
Well, fair enough. And I think we all have some feature of ourselves that we love or are proud of and like to accentuate if we can. So that's
Yeah.
devastating. Absolutely devastating. So how do you, I mean, how do you get through that? I mean, you're lucky because you have big hair.
When I grew back, and they wanted me back on air immediately. I literally got off that cold metal table from my last radiation treatment with a suitcase sitting beside it and went straight to LaGuardia Airport and down to do shows. My hair was about a quarter of an inch long. I thought, who does this remind me of? I thought Annie Lennox,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I looked up older pictures of Annie Lennox and how she handled having a quarter of an inch, a third of an inch of hair. And I patterned myself after that. And people were like, oh, you look like Annie Lennox. I love it. And then some people got angry at me because I let it grow. They were like, but I liked it like that. Okay, but I didn't. I just took it as a challenge every step of the way, an artistic challenge, a personal challenge. And, I look back at that period and I do not have one bad memory. Every memory I have is something good happened. I changed in some way that lightened my burden of maybe anger or resentment that I carried with me all my life. I guess I never really thought about it before, but having me as my best project that I keep working on, it's a very successful way to live your life. And everybody should give it a try. Don't give up. Do not give up on yourself. And never, ever, ever say it's too late. It is never too late. You are living in the moment, and this moment is never going to come back again. Make the most out of it.
It's wonderful advice. You are your own best project.
Yeah, I am my own cheerleader.
I think that just even specifically when it comes to style or beauty, people can kind of get stuck in a bit of a rut. Like
Totally.
you had a uniform that you wore 10 years ago, and it's like that's all you know. And to go out and find something new that's really different is like so daunting.
It
And
is.
I would love to hear some, I don't know, advice or like a pep talk, or, in your classic Diane way,
Okay, so
encourage us to step outside of our
yeah,
comfort.
the first thing I had to do was ask myself, and it tended to be more of a toxic medical question than a beauty question, but it was both. Do you want to go on coloring your hair? I lost all my hair. Now it was growing back. Maybe I had half an inch, three-quarters of an inch. Did I want to go white and authentic? And I really came to the conclusion I did not want poisonous dyes and formaldehyde next to my skin. So I was going to completely redo my look. And remember, I can run, but I can't hide. I'm on television. And however you go, that's how your audience is going to see you, expect you. And I had a million friends who said, ooh, I'm still bleaching my hair blonde. I'm not ready for white. So I thought I am ready for white. So that was deliberate. And then growing it out, I thought, okay, is it going to grow back the same? And to begin with, it did not. It grew back very curly. So I had to deal with that. And then it started to get wavy, not so curly. And then I thought, okay, how long can I grow it? Because my hair used to be really long. And what do I want to pattern it as? And I thought, maybe like 1960s, early 70s, Palm Beach, heiress, like this big halo of hair. So I started to work towards that. I looked through a million books at Babes Paley and all these women named Buffy and Muffy and they all had this big hair. And I thought, I like that. I don't want it to be flat. I don't want it. So this is going to be the introduction to me. This is going to be what people look at and the attention getter. And then when it came to fashion, I got out of my business and I had to change from jeans. I tried a lot of different bottoms, and what was easiest for me was leggings in fashion colors and faux leather leggings and faux suede leggings, and then a blazer and a very simple layering piece underneath. So at the time that that started to gel and solidify itself, that was and a great status scarf. And that was really a look I had put with jeans my whole adult life. So I only traded out jeans for fashion leggings. I needed the extra stretch. Um, and the mobility and flat shoes. I had worn high heels, Jimmy Choos, and Louboutins on set forever on TV. Couldn't do that anymore after the treatment I went through. So for me, because I was always in a visual field, I had um, I had a framework to work with, and I just had to trade a few things out for more comfort or easier fit solutions. But my uniform, all my adult life, from the first time I went to work in Paris at about 22 years old onwards, was scarf, easy layering piece, t-shirt in the summertime, turtleneck in the wintertime, a great tailored blazer, and a lean bottom because that's the best part of my body, my skinny legs. Um, and that's pretty much where I've stayed. And I just sort of work within those confines. I am still a fashionista. I am still totally prone to try out and experiment with new or updated looks, but they're always within that framework. So I would honestly say, if you were a businesswoman all your life, but now you're not, and you're retired, but you're thinking about maybe doing something new, but how should you dress? Take the best pieces, the ones you've invested the most money in, out of your closet and figure out how to make them right for you now. And I do want to give one piece of advice about hair. I think outside of New York City and LA, you're going to hear a lot of, oh, older women shouldn't have long hair. That is ridiculous, really. And I take a vitamin every day in my life, like Nutrafol, that grows my hair and fills it out and supports the look I want. So you got to see it as a three-dimensional journey. You've got to really fortify your body and use the right products um, to achieve something where you can walk out of the house and you're going to get compliments. And those compliments are going to fortify you. And they're going to give you a sense of self satisfaction and a sense of, yeah, I'm in control of this phase of my life. And you just create another ring and another ring of purpose and fulfilling what should be some of your greatest moments of destiny. I truly believe that. I work on it every day. I'm always thinking, is this the right look? Should it be that? How do I manipulate this? I mean, the whole thing. I dyed my hair deep auburn all of my adult life. Suddenly and I was lucky to come out with, pure white hair. Now what do I do? Now what are the colors I can wear? I can't wear the same colors anymore. And in a way at 80, although I want a presence that people respect. Um, I don't want as much attention as I got at 40. So it's like working on a sculpture of yourself, a living sculpture, and you keep tweaking it. When it comes to fashion, I find most of my layering pieces, believe it or not, I buy off of Amazon Basics. They're fabulous. Nothing is over $30 and they're all washable. So that's a big change for me from designer layering pieces. I buy a lot from Uniqlo, which creates for a very broad audience incredible value. Like I just got my cashmere sweaters for the season because I have moths that eat on my cashmere. Ugh. And they were at an insane price, one third of what you'd find at another rung, let's say J. Crew. So I've made some very thrifty expeditions into fast fashion that really work. And then I've got my blazers, and those, as long as your weights remain pretty stable, those haven't changed in years, and they're still the same cut, single breasted or double breasted.
You're your own image consultant, and I think that's the message here, which is take yourself as though you were your own client, and just some of the advice is so good. What do you love and what suits your body? And I'm a skinny leg type person too, so always the skinny jeans or the leggings and then the blazer. I mean, Liz Claiborne used to design for me, now not. But it helps to have that insight into, well, how do you want to look?
And I really like what Diane said about her creative process. Like she set herself in Palm Beach and she actually went out and gathered inspiration with books and images because you had this idea in your mind and you thought this is what I want to create, and then you created it. Like, I think that's really a revelation, that you could like something and then create it for yourself.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And the other thing I would say, which is not part of most women's everyday lives, is take some pictures of yourself. Pictures do not necessarily lie. And take those pictures and take a look. And you may say to yourself, oh my God, I need some Botox. I'm going to try it for the first time. Or, yeah, should I? I'm going to go to a dermatologist and see what they have to say, and maybe I will get some filler. You know, that old Billy Crystal line, better to look good than to feel good. My tweak on that line is when you look good, you feel better. And that is so true. So, yeah, I mean, I had to get back on TV again, so I had to know how I was. Yeah, I had to really set down a path before me, and but you know something, I just hate to say it. We are in such a visual world, and I just did a podcast on Tilly Northman,
Oh,
Tilly
yes,
Norwood,
the AI.
The AI star, and ask yourself, now I have to compete against perfection. Are you kidding me? But we are a very visual world and a very judgmental world. And it's hilarious to me how much respect you get for keeping yourself together as you age, when in fact, of course I want to keep myself together. What do you mean? You think I'm going to fall apart or not care anymore? That's crazy. And does it take more effort? A bit. But guess what? You've got more time to do it now. So, yeah.
We have a wonderful community, and we have, when people join up and get a subscription to our newsletter, we have this questionnaire, and a lot of women are filling it out and telling us wonderful things about themselves. But one of the greatest things that I read the other day, where it says, the question is, what do you do? What do you do? What's the one thing you do every day that makes you feel good? And this woman writes, get up, dress up, show up, you know.
Yeah,
I love that.
that is so true. And very often, yeah, I'll go someplace, and I'll be the only white-haired person there. Every other woman has chosen to dye her hair, assuming she's fooling the world, which is not altogether true. And I don't know, it was such a commitment for me to go authentic and say, okay, I'm gonna blaze a new trail. I'm gonna be the glamorous white-haired lady. She is absolutely right. Wake up, dress up, show up.
Yeah.
So on it. Wherever you are in the world,
Yeah.
I think that women who are aging share certain dreams, and you would like to age beautiful, you would like to age healthy, and you would like to age active. And here's the secret: you got to work at it. You're in charge of you. And as much as I respect Western medicine, and thank God that I got to the kind of treatment I got, which was absolutely beyond top of the line, Dubin Breast Cancer Clinic. Um, I still was very responsible for myself and never, ever, ever allowed my brain to stray to, you're gonna die, you're gonna die. I always thought, I'm gonna be fine. Always thought that. And I never let any real negative thoughts in there. And I ate organic 100%. And so you have an obligation to you. If you want to enjoy the most truly precious part of your life, um, you've got to put some devotion and self-belief into it.
I love that. I'm so inspired. I'm going to go get some magazines and rename myself. I really am inspired. And there was this one Instagram post you did of in your closet, which
I
I love,
just did that.
yeah, I love that. I went, oh, there it is. There's the style that I am. I just need to get back to it.
Wow, when
Yeah.
did we publish that? Just recently, right?
Really?
I think so. I think it was just recent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I called it Closet Confidential. I had to go through I'm the kind of person who is a total pack rat. I am a hoarder, and I am just going to be buried alive if I don't get a grip on it. And I am someone who's just sure that even though something is 30 years old, I'm going to wear it again. So I had to go through the closet. It took me the entire weekend. I had to pull off every dry cleaning plastic bag, look at what I have, rearrange the colors, have a theme. And now I open up that closet and it's like, wow, it looks so good. It
Yeah.
won't last,
No.
but okay.
But it's
Yeah,
wonderful. Yeah.
thank you.
So
Well,
I'm
Diane, it has been a pleasure speaking with you. I also feel inspired. And, I think the get up, dress up, show up is applicable to where I am in my life as well, which is I have young kids and I work from home a lot of the time. So it's very easy to just hang out in sweatpants and,
Yeah, isn't it?
um, not, but anyways, I feel inspired and I love your mission and your message and everything that you're
Thank
doing.
you, because sometimes when you're doing this, and believe me, I joined clubs with women who were my age and peers, and then I realized I didn't want to be stuck in an age ghetto where you only feel good around these people because they're 5, 10 years, they're like 85, not 80 like me, or I realized I wanted to be in something a lot more homogenous, but sometimes you feel like you're Don Quixote with the windmills, that no one's listening and no one knows how to grow older or cares. So it's really great for me to get out of my bubble and come on a podcast like this with educated, really highly informed women who still have a lot of enthusiasm for life and changing and growing. And so I thank you really from the bottom of my heart.
Lovely. Thank you for those kind words, you know. And I don't know if I should start calling you Buffy or Muffy, but whatever it is,
No,
you
no.
nailed it. I'm kidding.
That is hilarious.
It's so
Yeah.
perfect.
Thank
Well,
you, ladies.
thank you.
Where's the best place for people to find you?
If you go on Instagram, if you go on TikTok, if you go on Facebook, if you go on YouTube, it's thedianegilman.com. And that is where you'll find me. And I do 3 different podcasts: Fashion Thursdays with Diane on Thursdays, the most popular. Everyone wants to know about fashion. Women love fashion, so do I. Too Young to Be Old, which is our informative ageism podcast, and the 80/40 factor, which is my 40-year-old brand manager who I've worked with forever, myself. And we take major events in life, all kinds of questions, and interpret them in a 40-year-old brain and an 80-year-old brain and see the differences and the contrasts and the sameness at sometimes. So I'm a busy girl.
Wow.
I've got a lot of podcasting.
We're even more grateful for your time, and I will be listening to those. Those are our community is going to be so inspired by you. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, ladies.
Diane.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.